The imposing silhouette of Hagia Sophia has looked down for almost 15 centuries over the old city of Istanbul, formerly the legendary city of Constantinople, and the crossroads between Europe and Asia. It's one of the most impressive monuments ever constructed by man. Built in the 6th century, its 56-meter-high dome was a huge challenge in terms of weight and was intended to last for centuries to come. Its cupolas and minarets identify it as a place of Muslim worship, yet it was constructed by Christians almost a century before the birth of Islam, and over 1,000 years separate its architecture from the other mosques in Istanbul, whose design was based on Hagia Sophia. Inside, it's like a gigantic cathedral. But on its walls, splendid Islamic calligraphy sits side by side with some of the greatest mosaics of the Byzantine era. The name Hagia Sophia comes from the Greek for divine wisdom. It's now a museum, and millions of visitors come from around the world to discover the remarkable history to which this place bears testimony.
It has been a cathedral for the Orthodox, for the Roman Catholics. It has been a mosque. It has been a symbol of the secular Turkish Republic, and it has been a magnificent architectural work.
The fact that this unique building and the wonders it contains have survived to this day is miraculous. Istanbul is built on a very active seismic fault line, and in its lifetime, Hagia Sophia has withstood dozens of earthquakes. It seems to have weathered them well, but its structural soundness remains a big unknown.
If an earthquake comes in the future strong enough, I think there is a real chance it can receive damage.
A major restoration campaign is underway, and a team of architects, seismologists and engineers is trying to identify the weak points of the building in order to take any necessary action to save it. Hagia Sophia remains an eminently symbolic monument. The entire history of this part of the world is contained within its walls, and there may still be some undiscovered treasures within. Robert Oosterhout teaches history of art at the University of Pennsylvania. He's a specialist in monumental Byzantine architecture, and for him, Hagia Sophia is an exceptional construction, both in terms of its uniqueness and its size.
Well, Hagia Sophia was really designed to be a unique building, and it has remained a unique building through its history. No one with a practical background would ever attempt anything like Hagia Sophia. This is the beauty of the building, that the architecture was innovative and on a monumental scale. Nothing close to this had ever been built before.
15 centuries later, the magic of this architecture continues to work as it did on the first day of its creation.
One of the great beauties of Hagia Sophia is we can still experience the interior of the building much as a Byzantine spectator would have seen it in the 6th century. We experience the weightless quality of the building. We see the dome almost as if it's floating on a ring of light. We understand the interior of the building as an experience that's completely different from anything else on Earth.
But for how much longer will visitors be able to enjoy this unique experience?
Maintaining a building the scale of Hagia Sophia has been a problem since the 6th century. For much of its history, it was a white elephant. And there are periods where it actually was not used on a regular basis simply because it was so expensive to maintain.
Today, a huge conservation effort is once again underway, requiring the biggest scaffolding structure ever to be constructed inside it, to consolidate the walls of Hagia Sophia and return them to their former glory. But is the monument still able to withstand the earthquakes that regularly hit the region? In 1992, 2 quakes of a magnitude of 7.6 brought down hundreds of buildings in the city and resulted in 17,000 deaths. And specialists warn that another major event is likely sometime in the next 2 decades. Cette is the head of the laboratory of seismic study at WGBH University. Her task is to evaluate the current state of Hagia Sophia and how earthquake-proof it really is.
Ve yapıldığı andan itibaren aslında bir sürü deformasyon olmaya başladı. Çünkü yani taştan yapıyorlar fakat artık...
She's here today to raise awareness among the students in her team of the unique behavior of this building and how it has deteriorated.
Did they not take any precautions for the deformations that they observed during the construction of the building?
When they saw that the pillars were deforming, they continued building up by fixing the deformed areas and reinforcing them. When it deformed, they reinforced. That's how they continued building up.
Some of the pillars are slanted, the others are straight. There is some sort of pressure on them.
One cannot understand the scale of this without being here. It's good that you guys are here to witness this.
However spectacular they may be, Cette isn't worried about these deformations. She's more concerned by the behavior of the main structure of Hagia Sophia. The giant dome and the arches supporting it are under close surveillance.
We have sensors for earthquake monitoring for about 20 years in this building.
1, 2, 3, and another one over there.
They measure and record vibrations full time. The data that we obtain from here is very important to us in terms of understanding the general structural behavior of this huge building.
This information is sent in real time to the Seismic Monitoring Center at WGBH University. This is where all the data from dozens of sensors placed in Istanbul's major buildings is collated. There are 9 such sensors in Hagia Sophia.
We have 1 station on the ground level. We have 4 stations here at the top of the main load-carrying piers of the structure. Then we have 4 other sensors on the top, on the crowns of those main arches which support the main dome.
They've shown that during seismic activity, some parts of the building have been moving in a worrying way.
Our monitoring indicates 2 locations in the building which may have more excessive vibration. These are the top of the main arches on the east and west side. And also something is going on with the southwest pier.
These vibrations reveal potential fragility in the building structure.
Even though the structure doesn't appear to receive permanent damage as a result of 1999 earthquakes, it doesn't mean that it's earthquake-proof.
The building's behavior is so complex that Cette has decided to adopt an original approach in order to try and identify these weak points. She has reduced the building to the key elements in its structure and asked a team of specialist technicians to make a model of it in bricks and mortar. She will then simulate an earthquake on this scale model in the lab. The team has already carried out experiments like this on a model of a mosque in Macedonia, and it revealed the hidden weaknesses in the structure. However, the enormous dimensions of Hagia Sophia are presenting the technicians with a real problem in terms of scale.
I'm worried I won't even be able to build it. It might collapse during construction.
Well, there will be some challenges. In my opinion, we will face problems with during the construction of the arches and of the domes, and then in putting them in place, in making the model work as a homogeneous structure. So we will have those three critical issues.
The construction of Hagia Sophia in the 6th century was no doubt a message to the world, foretelling of a major event in the history of humanity. In the 3rd century, the Roman Empire dominated the Mediterranean basin, but was struggling to control this huge territory. In a final attempt to assert himself, Emperor Constantine I founded a second capital, a new Rome, on the site of a former Greek colony on the banks of the Bosphorus, Byzantium. It soon became known as Constantinople, the city of Constantine. The first Roman emperor to embrace Christianity, he built a basilica dedicated to divine wisdom. A century later, Christianity became the official religion of the empire. But the territory was divided into two: the Western Roman Empire with its capital in Ravenna, and the Eastern Roman Empire controlled from Constantinople. During the 5th century, the Western Empire collapsed under pressure from the barbarian tribes. The Eastern Roman Empire, now known as Byzantine, saw its influence really take off in the 6th century during the reign of Emperor Justinian. Justinian saw himself as the heir to the Roman Empire and God's representative on earth. But in Constantinople, such claims were not unanimously welcomed.
After Justinian became emperor, there were many challenges to his authority. The greatest came in 532, when riots broke out after a bad call at a chariot match at the Hippodrome. Justinian gathered the rebels together in the Hippodrome, seeming to agree to their demands, but instead he simply closed the doors and slaughtered them all. The army killed tens of thousands of rebels, and this consolidated Justinian's power. From that point on, his greatest challenge was to rebuild the city, where in the Nike riots, much of the urban fabric had been destroyed, including the Church of Hagia Sophia.
Justinian turned his capital, Constantinople, into the biggest city of the known world. And to mark his victory, he wanted to erect a monumental basilica on the ruins of the first St. Sophia. But what shape should he give to this monumental construction, destined to announce the birth of the first great Christian empire? Joan Branham teaches history of art in Providence in the US, and she has studied the development of religious architecture during the early days of Christianity in detail. She's here at San Giovanni, a church in Ravenna, Italy, whose plans date back to the 4th century.
In the 4th century, Christianity becomes legal, and so all of a sudden imperial funds are available for church building. But the question is, how does one then fabricate or conceive of a sacred space for early Christianity?
Greek and Roman temples were reserved for the gods, and worshippers had to remain outside. The Christians would decide to assemble their congregations in a covered space, using the model of a building conceived by the Romans as a place to mete out justice, the basilica.
The early Christian basilica is a large space, usually rectangular in shape. It has a central aisle that we call a nave, and sometimes 1 or 2 side aisles. And at one end of it, there is a hemispherical projection called an apse. And here is located the altar, around which a priestly class will officiate.
For his new basilica, Justinian wanted to use this rectangular shape now associated with the Christian faith. But the building also had to symbolize his imperial power. And to do that, he used another Roman model, the Dome of the Pantheon, which for centuries had embodied the power of Rome. Justinian wanted a concrete symbol of a completely new concept, the fusion of imperial and religious power. To give form to this vision, he called upon Anthemius of Tralles and Isidore of Miletus, a mathematical genius and a geometrical physicist from the Platonic Academy of Athens.
Anthemius and Isidorus were university professors. Now, if you were, let's say, ask me to design a building, you'd be getting yourself into a lot of trouble. I'm a university professor. I'm not a practicing architect.
Justinian gave these two men 100 master builders, 10,000 workers, and an unlimited budget.
The university professors set about doing something that was truly innovative. It wasn't the sort of building that a practical builder would ever attempt to build. There's nothing practical about Hagia Sophia. It's all innovation. They started with the concept of the dome over a square bay. That is, we have a square at the center that measures 100 Byzantine feet across, and a dome measuring 100 Byzantine feet across rising above that. That figure is expanded to the east and west by half domes. The half domes measure 50 feet in length. So I think we can understand the design of Hagia Sophia in terms of pure geometry. It's geometric flights of fancy beyond what a practical architect would ever attempt to build.
The first challenge of constructing this geometrical abstraction was how to support such a huge dome. The solution they adopted was to create a structure formed of 4 enormous Roman arches.
Nowhere are there arches as large as those in Hagia Sophia. Maybe the largest surviving Roman arch is 50 feet in diameter. The arches that support the Great Dome in Hagia Sophia are 100 feet in diameter. That is much, much larger than anything that had been attempted in Roman architecture before.
How could they be sure that these exceptionally large arches wouldn't collapse? In creating their scale model, Esa Chakti and her team are facing a similar problem. Like the builders of Hagia Sophia, the team is using wooden molds to guide and support the arrangement of bricks and mortar to make these 4 large arches.
The keystone is the last part and the most important part. It will complete the arches. When we put it there, it is making the necessary connection between 2 sides of the arches. It will take all the loads from up to the downside of the arches.
But a gigantic dome means a huge weight. Even in terms of a scale model, how will the arches be able to support it? To find out, Esa places sensors on top of the arches like those in the real Hagia Sophia. They will allow her to precisely measure how much stress the arch is under depending on the weight it's bearing. Then they add bags of sand to simulate the weight of the dome. Each bag weighs 25 kilos. According to the calculations made with their digital model, the arch ought to be able to hold around 15 bags before it deforms to the point of collapse. But when they add the 5th, luckily nobody's hurt, but the arch collapses under a load of barely 100 kilos. Reducing structures such as this sometimes leads to surprises. The team is disappointed, but for Esa, this type of incident proves how useful such experiments are.
It is always interesting to see the failure mechanism in real life. When you do it on computers, you develop an idea of how the failure is going to happen. But it is only during the tests of this kind or after damages during a real earthquake where we see the pattern, the damage pattern or the collapse pattern.
Watching in slow motion shows how the weight of the bags exerts a lateral force on the arches and deforms them until they collapse. In the real building, the weight of the dome exerts a similar force towards the exterior. To counter these forces, Anthemius and Isidore strengthen their arches on the east-west axis, with gigantic buttresses on the exterior of the building. On the north-south axis, they adopted a different solution: semi-domes. They perform the same role as the buttresses, strengthening the resistance of the arches. And this innovation also meant they could open up the inside and create a huge rectangular space, offering visitors a spectacular view of the dome. There was still one more problem to resolve: how to seat the circular base of the dome on the square shape defined by the 4 arches. 4 curved triangles known as pendentives were inserted in each corner to complete the structure and create a harmonious transition from the circle to the square. As with the arches, these pendentives weren't the first of their kind, but they were the biggest ever seen. Justinian's wish was magnificently fulfilled: an exceptional dome that was both light and majestic, topping the rectangular shape of a Christian basilica of staggering dimensions. The most amazing thing was how they managed to construct this monumental edifice in record time.
Justinian wanted something to go up immediately, and it went up quickly, very, very quickly. In less than 6 years, we have a major building constructed. If we think about Gothic cathedrals in France, for example, maybe the quickest construction would be something like Reims Cathedral, which only took 80 years and is a lot shorter and narrower than Hagia Sophia.
Despite this record speed, the interior decoration still matches the building's architectural ambition.
Justinian's Hagia Sophia is a spectacle in stone. To build his great church, Justinian brought marbles from all parts of the empire. The great purple columns come from the imperial quarries of Egypt. The porphyry stone signifies the imperial presence in Hagia Sophia. Elsewhere, we see stones brought from as far away as North Africa.
The tallest columns are over 20 meters high. Their capitals are sculpted in intricate detail, and each of these elements contributes to the symbolic impact of the whole.
The building becomes the empire of Justinian. Its marbles present a geography lesson of the extent and greatness of Justinian's empire. And above we have the heavens represented by the gold mosaics.